Come on. Help! Help!
Riverdale is officially back, and buckle up because this season looks like it's gonna be a wild ride. So let's break down the season 3 premiere and find out just what happened. Rise and shine on, you lovely people. Lisa here, and Riverdale season 3 is finally back. Yes, the season is officially underway. I think it's like football season, right? Which means my recaps are back in full swing as well. But before we dive into all the craziness of this episode, I just want to give a big thanks to Amino for sponsoring this video. You know there's always a lot to talk about when it comes to Riverdale, whether it's with theories or ships, and the perfect place to do that is on the Amino app with their amazing network of communities. There is one just for Riverdale, and that's not all. You can join a community for all your favorite things, whether it's a fall TV show, a music group, a musician, or even your favorite book. Yes, they got everything covered, and the app is so easy to use that you can chat with your favorites 24/7 and talk about them with people that share just as much passion as you do. And if you do fan art, you can submit that. You can also make polls, join chats, and a lot more. I even got on the app and created a poll in the Riverdale Amino just for you that you can vote in, asking what you're most excited for with season 3 of the show. Whether it's the debut of Jughead's mom and sister, or you want to see more of the ships like Tony and Cheryl. So be sure to go download the app. There's a link in the description, and join the Riverdale Amino and cast your vote. Now let's get down to business. So this actually might be my favorite episode of Riverdale in quite a while, because I had this love-hate relationship with season 2, honestly. Like, it wasn't my favorite. There were some great episodes within it, but I don't know. I think just the storyline was just drawn out way too long. So this episode gives me hope that season 3 is gonna be a good one. So from this premiere episode, we had some major WTF moments, but a lot of awesome moments. And you know what my favorite things were? There was drama, there was action, there were dogs, there was the hot dads of Riverdale, there was a lot of skin, and we had Cheryl and Fred continuing to be the heroes that we need in Riverdale at the moment. So let's just go ahead and break this episode down, and I will talk about the casting of Jellybean and Gladys Jones at the end of this video. We're picking up a few days before Labor Day, in other words, the final days of summer before the gang starts their junior year of high school. Veronica spent the summer working at Pops, Betty spent the summer interning with Mary and Sierra working on Archie's case, and Jughead spent the summer sending scouts to try to track down and keep tabs on the Ghoulies and Penny Peabody. Cheryl and Tony, they spent their summer motorcycling around the country, and it seems like they had the most fun out of everybody. As for Archie, he spent his summer on trial awaiting his fate for the murder of Cassidy. Now in this episode, we meet District Attorney Wright, played by Penelope Ann Miller. Now while she's a character that definitely we do not like on this show, I love that this actress is on the show because I grew up watching her, and all the adults in Riverdale I feel like are these actors that are kind of iconic in their own way that we, depending on how old you are, grew up watching. So it's kind of a fun thing to see them bringing all of these kinds of people into this show. Anyway, the district attorney, she's trying her best to paint Archie as this violent, cold-blooded killer, while Archie's mom, Mary, defends him, saying Archie is someone who puts his need above others, is a great kid, and there's basically no reliable witnesses or evidence to pin this stuff on Archie. When the jury just can't come to a decision, even though it seems like Mary Andrews has tried to stack the jury in their favor, the judge dismisses them for the weekend and puts the trial on hold in order to reconvene the Tuesday after Labor Day. And the judge suggests that Archie spends the weekend with his loved ones, and just that suggestion gives the ominous feeling that Archie's going away, even though I think we already knew that if you've watched the trailers for this season and seen promo pictures. Anyway, everybody is dismissed, and we get one of the best moments this episode, something I've been waiting so long for someone to do.
Have a terrific weekend.
Fred! Yes, Fred Andrews just clobbers Hiram with a hook. Like, seriously, how has no one done this before? I honestly wish no one had pulled these two apart and we could just get some kind of UFC brawl, whatever, no holds bar thing going on, because I honestly think Hiram would have gotten his ass kicked. Yeah, Hiram may be a wrestler, but he just seems like all talk on this show and no muscle. So yeah, you go, Fred. So when making plans for Archie's last days, Jughead, Betty, and Veronica want to spend it doing whatever they can to find evidence or something to help set Archie free. But Archie, he's over it. He just wants to spend these days with his loved ones like the judge suggested. Now the gang is discussing this all at Pops, but now we gotta interrupt it because we need to take a moment to appreciate Cheryl's grand entrance into season 3, because honestly, did we expect anything less from her?
Like it or not, when I get going, ain't no way I'm gonna stop.
Her grand entrance is to announce that she's hosting this massive pool party because Cheryl feels just like celebrating and doing a bit of hell-raising. At this pool party, we finally get a glimpse of Josie, Reggie, and Kevin, who don't really get much else to do in this episode. But Reggie does promise Archie that he'll work with Jughead to keep the peace between the Bulldogs and the Serpents. Meanwhile, Josie and Sweet Pea, we find out they've been having a summer fling. Yeah, did anyone else not see that coming? Kind of weird, but I kind of oddly like it. Well, Sweet Pea, he wants to continue this fling, but for Josie, she said nothing's coming between her and her music. Now Kevin and Moose, they've also been seeing each other over the summer, and Kevin's ready to take things to the next level, and he wants to make a pact, like in those teen movies, that they'll lose their virginity, I'm assuming to each other, by Halloween. And let's just say, yeah, Moose looks pretty uncomfortable by that announcement. We also get a bit of Cheryl and Tony, and gotta give a shout out to Tony for her serpent bikini, because if you can't wear the jacket, you gotta represent somehow, right? And she does it in a very stylish way. But we actually get to see a little bit of a vulnerable side of Cheryl, as she genuinely seems upset that there's nothing she can do to save Archie, because she wants to so badly, because Archie actually saved her. And we get to see Cheryl share a little bit of that with Tony. And I think I am loving what they've been doing with Cheryl's character. Like the first season, it was a little iffy if I truly liked her, but the past season and so far this episode, we've gotten to see how well-rounded she is. We get the sassy side of her, we get the vulnerable side of her, and later in this episode, we get the kick-ass side of her. Now, Archie, he continues to kind of get ready to be sent away, and he ends up getting an honorary serpent tattoo from FP, who I must say looks pretty good in those glasses, and this serpent tattoo will offer Archie protection in case, obviously, he gets sent to jail. And FP gives him some advice that the thing he needs to make sure he does is protect his mind, keep his wits about him. Now, something weird here is that I can't actually tell if FP is giving Archie like an actual tattoo, or if it's a stick poke tattoo, or if he just honestly painted that tattoo on with the world's longest lasting waterproof durable paint, because FP definitely was not using a tattoo gun. So let's hope that tattoo stays on long enough to keep Archie safe. Now, while Archie spends the weekend fixing up his jalopy with Betty and Fred and planning a trip for the gang to the swimming hole, Veronica has other things on her mind. She's not gonna let it go that her daddy is framing Archie. So we get a scene where Veronica confronts Hiram and pleads with him to please stop all of this and to save Archie, because he's the one who could do it since he's the one framing Archie. But Hiram, being the dick that he is, of course denies that he knows anything about this or has any part of it, and that things are beyond his control. But Veronica, she isn't buying that. And in this scene, I just wanted Veronica to pull a Fred and just sock Hiram in his other eye socket cheek and give him, matching bruises, because that dude deserves that and way worse. Well, thanks to Josie, Veronica finds out where this jury has been sequestered for the weekend, so she pretends to be housekeeping, but before she can do anything, she is busted by Sheriff Douchebag and then gets a stern talking to from Hermione. But Veronica, she lashes right back out at Hermione, calling her out for never standing up to Hiram. Well, Hermione explains that she doesn't, because she knows that Hiram would never hurt a hair on Veronica's head because that's his daughter, but he would not hesitate to hurt Hermione. So that's why she doesn't stand up to him directly. But she says she may be a prisoner, but she's not his puppet. So it seems like she may be scheming in other ways to try to bring Hiram down. During the episode, we see Archie have a few nightmares that make him feel like he is definitely guilty. He just keeps saying himself with blood on his hands and guilty of this death, even though he knows that he did not murder anybody. But he knows he needs to clear his head, and we see our core 4 head out to the swimming hole. Now, after swimming, some campfire, and public sex, Archie actually attempts to try to break up with Veronica because he doesn't want her waiting around for him. But Veronica is stubborn and will not let that happen. Now look, Riverdale never usually makes me emotional, but there is one moment in this episode that almost got me to shed a tear. And you know what that is? It had nothing to do really with humans. It had to do with dogs. So many dogs in this episode. We get to see, before heading out to court to find out his, fate, we see Archie bend down and give his dog Vegas a big old pet hug and basically say goodbye to Vegas. And dogs are my weakness, and this was something that I just could not handle. But back to Archie's sentencing. So the jury cannot make a decision. They are deadlocked, so the judge will have to declare this a mistrial. But before he can, the DA gets ahead of him and offers a new deal. If Archie pleads guilty, he'll get 2 years in juvie. And against the advice of, everyone around him, Archie accepts this deal because he's pretty much, like I said over the course of the episode, accepted that all his actions, while he may not have physically killed Cassidy, he's done a lot of stuff that has made him feel guilty and that he feels like he deserves this punishment. So Archie heads off to juvie while Veronica learns that Hiram did all of this just to punish her for choosing Archie over him.
You don't have a daughter anymore.
There might be hope for Archie though, because it seems like everyone is not going to stop fighting for him. Mary's going to file an appeal, and the hot dads of Riverdale, Fred, FP, and Tom, vow to do whatever it takes to prove that Hiram framed Archie. So yeah, not all superheroes wear capes. So now that we've gone over the drama of Archie's trial, let's go over our other storylines in this episode. It looks like the North Side could be under attack again as the Ghoulies and Penny end up kidnapping Hot Dog. How dare you kidnap a dog? And it turns out that this is just a trap to get Jughead face to face with them, because they know Jughead's been sending scouts and spies out all summer long. But Jughead's pretty quick on his feet and lies and says that, he was just sending them out to look for Hot Dog because they knew Hot Dog was missing. But yeah, Penny and the Ghoulies, they're pretty smart, I guess, and they know that that is a crock full of BS. So Penny, she always seems to want something from Jughead, and this time she wants his jacket because you can't be the Southside Serpents because they no longer own the South Side. And when Jughead doesn't want to give up his jacket, she threatens to go after Betty. So Jughead counters with giving up his jacket if the Ghoulies stay out of the North Side, but doesn't seem like they want to do that either. And when Malachi gets mouthy, Katniss Blossom emerges to shoot an arrow right in his shoulder, almost causing another full-out brawl. But with Jughead's quick talking and Cheryl's steady sniper archer's hand, Jughead and the Serpents end up leaving, but Penny does threaten that the North Side is now fair game. And with that, here's where things start to get super freaking weird on this show and set up for this whole farm and gargoyle stuff we'll be getting this season. So Dilton Doily and Ben, you remember Ben, the guy that pops up multiple times randomly and people thought that he might have been Chick, I think? There are weird theories about him. They've been playing some kind of game that Ben stops Dilton from telling Jughead the name of, so things are already suspicious right off the bat. Later, Dilton shows up to Jughead's a few times wanting to talk to Jughead and seems pretty shaken up. When he does finally get to talk to Jughead, he tells him that they thought this whole game was just a game, but it's not. This Gargoyle King is real. And Jughead's just kind of like, what is this dude talking about? And he has no time for it because he has to get to Archie's sentencing. So he tells Dilton to just stay in the kitchen, and when he comes back, they'll have a whole talk about this. Dilton does sit down, but when Jughead gets home, Dilton is nowhere to be found. Instead, there is a map with a weird sketch on it left on the kitchen table. Jughead ends up following that map to the forest, where he finds that sketch has been erected in real life, this whole skull statue weird gargoyle-y thing, and it looks like some kind of ritual or sacrifice has taken place because there are two bodies in their underwear on the ground. It's Dilton and Ben, and on their backs they have some kind of weird symbols etched into them. It's kind of gross looking. But we've actually seen these symbols before. They were spray painted on the Welcome to Riverdale sign, which we saw when Archie was getting shipped off to juvie, and they were also spray painted on the side of the swimming hole wall. And that swimming hole said no swimming after Labor Day, and I think this might be the reason. Yeah, these bodies of Ben and Dilton seem pretty lifeless, but Jughead does flip Ben over, and it seems like he starts having a seizure, and this weird bluish green stuff is coming from his mouth, but he still seems like there's some life in him. Dilton, not so sure. So what the heck is actually going on here? What is this Gargoyle King game? Well, I think it's been mentioned that I think episode 4 is the flashback episode where our characters play their parents, right, in high school. And I think that centers around this game. So yeah, it's not your typical Dungeons and Dragons. It's basically, we're going all kind of Stranger Things up in here with things coming to life from a game. As far as the farm goes, Alice and Polly have pretty much been brainwashed by Edgar Evernever, the leader of the farm, who's been helping them heal, and I honestly hate seeing Alice act like this. I miss my strong, sassy Alice. But Alice does her best to try to convince Betty to join her and Polly and, to burn her diaries, to let go of the past and, heal in a sense. But, Betty, she can see through all of this BS. She knows it's crazy and she wants nothing to do with it. But Polly is determined to bring Betty in, and she continues her evil ways and rats on Betty for not only lying about going to therapy, but forging Adderall prescriptions. Now, while Betty most likely wants nothing to do with the farm's way of healing, Betty is ready to heal on her own because she does admit to Jughead that she's been avoiding everything. She has been purposely taking the Adderall and spending her summer, diving into Archie's case and her internship so that she didn't have to think about what happened in the past with her dad and all of that. But now that summer is almost over, she realizes she's going to have to face this real life again. So she thinks that maybe she should go to therapy and actually start, to talk things out and heal. And this is when we get one of my favorite Bughead moments maybe ever. We see Jughead tell her, not only that he's gonna be there for her, they'll get through this together, but he puts his beanie on her head. Like, that is his coveted beanie, and he lets her wear it, and I just think it's so cute. And of course you get a kiss, but I think the putting of the beanie on her head is even sweeter. But enough of this sweetness and back to the trippy WTF stuff that ends this episode. So we've seen this scene in the teaser trailers. Betty wakes up in the middle of the night, she goes downstairs because she hears chanting, and in the backyard you got Polly and Alice holding the twins above this fire along with some other people I'm assuming are from the farm. Well, we finally get to see what happens with the rest of this scene. Yeah, Polly and Alice hold the twins above the fire, and then they drop them. Yeah, you think they would fall into the fire, but no, this is where it gets so weird. The babies start freaking floating in midair above this fire. Like, what on earth? Why would you ever do this? What is this show doing? Yeah, while we're tripping out over this, you know who else is tripping out over this? Betty. Yeah, she starts to get dizzy, falls to the ground. It seems like she starts convulsing, and yeah, I think I probably would too, maybe if I saw this happening, but she's convulsing on the ground, and Alice runs over to her, and of course, this is where the episode stops, because they don't want us to know what the heck's happening. You gotta have us, tied in, invested in order to watch the next episode. You gotta have a cliffhanger. So yeah, is this like a part of a dream that Betty's having? Is this withdrawal from all her Adderall? Is that a thing? I mean, this could also just be actually happening because weird stuff happens in Riverdale all the time. So yeah, I just kind of like to believe anything can happen in this weird town that can't afford air conditioning in the courtroom and that lets Archie just wander around during a recess in his trial instead of keeping him, with security. But that wraps up pretty much everything. I think the main things that happened in this premiere episode. I gotta say, I actually am pretty interested to see how Archie handles himself in juvie. Maybe we'll see a different side of him. It seems like he saved himself from going to regular jail, so hopefully juvie isn't as bad, but I feel like juvie's gonna be kind of bad for him. But he does have that tattoo, and let's hope that it actually helps him out and he is able to keep his wits like FP suggested. Now, I gotta give a shout out to my favorite moments from this episode. I gotta give it to Fred for giving Hiram the good old hook that he deserved. Actually, he deserved way more than that, but this is a start. I loved Cheryl's grand entrance and her archery skills. I really liked when Betty told Jughead that a serpent queen is a warrior queen. I feel like we are seeing a stronger, more confident Betty. With Hot Dog, the fact that the serpents said that there's no serpent left behind and meant that with Hot Dog. Like I said, dogs are the way to my heart, and I loved that. And I also love that the Riverdale dads are plotting to take down Hiram. I told you I would watch a spin-off of them, and maybe we are going to get that whole side plot line, and I am here for it. Now, taking a break from the episode, just some quick news about Riverdale. I didn't make a separate news video for this when it was announced at New York Comic Con because I was kind of busy, so I figured I'd shove it in here. We will be getting Jughead's mom and sister, Gladys and Jelly Bean Jones, this season, and casting was announced at Comic-Con. Sadly, we won't be getting a Scream reunion. There's no Neve Campbell, but Gina Gershon will be playing Jughead's mom, and I actually really like this. I think if I can't get Neve Campbell, this is such a good choice because, like I mentioned with Penelope Ann Miller, Gina Gershon is another actress that's kind of iconic from the 90s, and so she's pretty badass from the stuff I had seen her in growing up, so I feel like she fits right in with all the adults of Riverdale as well as this Jones family. And as far as Jellybean Jones goes, she's going to be played by newcomer Trinity Likens. So I'm excited to see how these two come into the storyline and stir up some trouble. But now let's go ahead and watch the promo for the next episode.
I won't tell anyone about what happened the other night.
Everybody run! Archie!
Dalton was raving about someone called the Gargoyle King.
Now, taking a closer look at this, it seems like we're getting some juvie riots or fights breaking out. Veronica visiting Archie in disguise. We'll meet who I'm assuming is Evelyn Evernever, Edgar, the leader of the farm's daughter, who seems to be going head-to-head with Betty and tells her to forget what she saw. So maybe that whole baby floating thing actually really happened. And it looks like Bughead is going to be investigating the Gargoyle King stuff. And I'm guessing that body on the table had dark hair, looked kind of like Dilton. So if it is Dilton, R.I.P. buddy. And now I want to hear from all of you. What did you think of this premiere episode? Where does it rank on your, favorite episode list, or maybe least favorite episode? And what are you excited to see this season? Which of these storylines intrigues you the most? Archie and Juvie, the Gargoyle King, or this weird-ass farm? Sound off in the comments or head over to the Riverdale Amino and chat with me about it. And after that, you can watch some of my new interviews right over here. I have an interview with the cast of All American, the show on the CW that's brand new, kind of like Friday Night Lights meets the OC, airs right after Riverdale. So check out those interviews, and be sure to subscribe if you like what you see. I'm Lisa. Thanks for hanging out with me, and I am so glad to be here to talk all things Riverdale again with you guys. See you later.